So I realized at that point when I was in high school that a single chemical reactions can change the world. For example, this currently in our world we have roughly over 7. You know, some of the family they lost literally like half of the family just like that.
That's ridiculous.
So that's probably why people say I can you take the COVID vaccine.
What do you think makes you satisfied at that age?
True, this is very, very philosophical questions. If you ask me these questions on Trump, probably I would say something else. Make him the Prime Minister of India.
Welcome to an episode on the Estelle Ingenuity Podcast. I'm Stephen Estelle, engineer, CEO, and founder of Estelle Ingenuity. In our episodes, we dive into different experiences from people who specialize in technology, entrepreneurship, and other necessary elements that will help you reach your full potential in these fields. We focus in on innovative devices that will be changing our society, stories from entrepreneurs and how they maneuver through the business landscape, and how these new technologies are being used in businesses to bring value to the world. From these stories, if you are inspired to develop your own inventions and prototypes, and you want to see your innovative ideas flourish, reach out to us at estelleingenuity.com for your prototyping needs so together we can begin creating the new devices of the future. With that being said, enjoy the show, follow and subscribe to Estelle Ingenuity Podcast, and relish the wisdom from the topic you hear today. I have one more question before closing, and this question is kind of like a 180 from what we just kind of talked about. And I was thinking about it when we were talking about Blue Zone and the vaccines and, why are people, all that stuff. But so the question, from your perception, since, you're talking about, making these new medicines and people using it to benefit their lives and things like that. So I'm curious about your perception on, of course, we have the drugs that we're using illegally. What's your thought about the illegal drugs? Do you feel like thinking about marijuana, for example, it used to be illegal, and then now in the United States, there's a lot of medicinal uses that are pretty good. I'm not one who actually uses marijuana, but I can see and realize that people are actually benefiting from using some of these drugs. Now, of course, there are some drugs that are destructive, but I'm hearing cases, I don't know if it's Amsterdam in the Netherlands, but they have special locations.
Right. Yeah.
Where you can use it in a safe environment. And
now also in New Jersey as well, they have...
really?
Yeah, recently visited. They have every corner.
Really? In New Jersey?
In New Jersey.
What?
Yeah, and people in New York, in Times Square, smoking weed, just like a cigarette.
Yeah. So, yeah, you just came from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my thought is what was it? Yeah, so I've talked to different people the different experiences,
right.
And some people have tried more intense drugs, such as ayahuasca.
What is that?
If I hope I'm saying it right, ayahuasca, but it's this Amazonian. Is it Amazonian? But
medicinal compounds, herbs or some sort of stuff.
I believe so.
Okay.
I feel like I'm not giving it justice right now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So it's it has a hallucinating effect.
It's, from what people have told me, it's a drug that people take that really gives them this awakening, intense experience.
Right.
It's extremely intense, and I heard that it's typically used in these tribal ceremonies. So a lot of times people will take it, they'll go to a special location, and maybe there's somebody that kind of leads you on this journey. And it's supposed to be an experience where people, they kind of have a special location, and maybe it's you and 5 others, and they have it all organized where it's not, you're not doing anything that's going to be dangerous.
I see.
They have you in a safe bed, and then they give you the drug, and then I don't know how long it lasts, but from what I've heard, it's pretty long. And the people I talked to about this have told me a wide variety of experiences. Some of the bad experiences being like when they were on this journey, they had this constant sense of fear that even when they left and they're over this drug-induced journey, the fear never left.
Right.
And now they're like screwed, and they have to go through physical therapy.
And I have also similar, not experiences, but examples.
Okay.
This is also similar experiences, like this drug overdose is a thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So for example, like one of my friends, so he was saying he's from the northern part of India.
Okay.
Where these plants, these medicinal plants. So these are like the native place where it grows, and some of them are like really.
It's by the Himalayas.
Yeah, Himalayan.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then so it was very accessible and was also very cheap. So one of the college students, he took it, and then probably he took it too much,
right?
And he hospitalized later, and didn't realize like how much you should have been taken. But later on, so of course he was like going through a severe effect. He was not probably remembering things, saying a lot of random things that doesn't make much sense. But he never gotten over from this effect. So he was with that state of mind like forever. And I was like pretty surprised. Like, man, don't take it. You never know. Yeah.
So I mean, when we think of those cases, and they're like ridiculously scary and stuff. But then I have heard of positive cases where like I knew another individual who took the same drug, ayahuasca, and they told me that after they finished it, they actually had a new appreciation for life, nature, and just everything living. They had this whole unification of like, I am what the world is and I am what the world is, and that whole mindset, right? And they actually said that they came out of it actually with an idea of being humbled, being very at peace, and being genuinely like happy.
Really?
Yeah. And so like, I see these two ideas where one person is like, I am in constant fear. Yeah. And then one person is like, all love and peace, man. And maybe I don't know if it's because of like the dosage, but it's interesting.
Very interesting. Because this I don't know whether this is myth or not. Because usually, people, those experienced people who try this kind of stuff, which is I'm not.
You said, just to be clear.
So they used to say, like this can have a really, as you say, like different effects on different people.
Right.
One type of people, like they
kind of goes
I
back
don't
to
know.
Vaseline.
It's like exactly. It's like the myth was like, well, when you take these kind of compounds and when you think about maybe good stuff in your life, so you become happy and you feel happy. But if you scared of something, then you become more scared, and your overall experience was like very chaotic, and you didn't like it at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like people can have like different types of mindset when they take it, or maybe people has a different state of mind at the time that they're taking that, because it's more, I think, psychological than like health wise. It just affects your brain and your thoughts. I don't know exactly because where it does affect, but it can be very scary.
Yeah, I can imagine. I wonder if it is just like an amplifier.
It is, I guess. Yeah.
If you're happy, you're just gonna be you're
super happy. Yeah. Like, I'm the happiest person in life. Yeah, it's a very, very different feeling. But coming back to the point again that you wanted to, wanted to discuss that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these kind of chemicals and compounds probably not really tested, like scientifically, what kind of side effect it can have. So probably for me, I would say maybe it's not a good idea to take unless you really know what is unknown compounds. But I feel like marijuana and some other these kind of compounds in like for example, back in India, also people now it is like you are legally obliged if you are forming this kind of compounds, like
Legally obliged to tell.
Yeah,
the government.
yeah, like government or. For example, these or any other addictive types of
like tobacco and stuff.
Tobacco and like afim, like where the more this what do you call this? These drugs called I totally forgot. Like very addictive type of drugs. For
Nicotine?
example, not nicotine. Heroin. For example.
Okay.
Yeah. So this sort of stuff, it comes from I think the plants called afim or some sort of, but it is like a super specialized type of plants that if you are trying to farm, you have to let government knows. Also because this kind of compounds, like for example this morphine or some other type of drugs that can be used for like like pleasure and maybe like I don't know, people use it for so many reasons.
I get you.
But also it can be used as a really good painkiller or other neurological disorder treatment.
Right.
So it depends why we're taking it and what is the reason. So
I guess I'm curious about, because I do know like they do use drugs for medicine, so then you don't feel the pain and you feel good during operation. But I guess when it comes to pleasure and let's say like psychological relief, or when you go to like psychologists and you have sessions, I wonder if you can use these medicines in that form where like for example, like when it comes to like marijuana, and people who have anxiety, I feel like there's cases out there where it actually genuinely helps when it's used in that purpose as a tool, more so than just like binge drinking, for example.
Right.
It's like a tool, to reduce it in a way, kind of like how you take medicine. So I wonder if we kind of shifted this view of drugs in a way that, yes, anything could be abused, from alcohol to cigarettes to even like playing video games.
Right. Yeah.
And I wonder, if that take on some of these hardcore drugs would be beneficial. And if so, why not, I guess, look into it?
Right. Yes, because, for example, marijuana, I think it has been probably taken over the years, and people probably know now how bad it could be. So that's why probably it's not like super harmful. I think it's not addictive, I guess, because it's like it's make you high, but you are not addictive like cocaine or something.
Yeah. I mean, I see, like different proper, like not like, because you can be addicted to anything, but like it's not like
addictive.
Nicotine.
Yeah.
I get you.
You don't. I don't think you crave for this kind of stuff.
It's not like chemical. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I think that's why probably one of the reasons many states in the US probably has legalized this thing. Like, okay, it's available for everybody with a valid ID.
All right.
Yeah, like
just go ahead.
It's fine as long as like you're responsible and you're like not violating or not doing any crime. And then many other places probably they're overcautious, like maybe we don't have the law enforcement to tackle if something bad happened, and that probably they try to.
Yeah, Japan's very strict.
Very strict about these things, but not necessarily everything is that bad. I guess like at least health wise, because in many other countries like it's kind of like very. It's probably in many countries, most of the countries probably still a crime, but it's not a severe crime or penalty as Japan. But there are not all the drugs are in the same classes, of course, because so many other drugs, for example, this like super addictive drugs, they can be very harmful. For example, because you develop a strong addiction towards it, so you crave for it at some point. It's like you have to have it, otherwise you will die. Probably cigarette as well. So similar kind of, I think so, but also I think at the end it's kind of all the things like business, I guess. You might probably get most of the stuff if you really want to experience.
Yeah,
just
people can't find a way.
Yeah.
That's very true.
But that's the scary part of it. Is like if you develop addictions and then it's difficult to control the addictions, probably you just spend all of your money on some drugs and so probably that's why being a law probably helpful. Otherwise, you probably keep buying it if it became an addiction for you, for example, and then you cannot just stop it.
I see that. So this will be the last statement to kind of finish off this, and then we'll close from here. So I was talking to my dad a couple of years back. So I mentioned he was a police officer, and specifically, he worked in the narcotics and drugs units, and so I would always get his point of view about what do you think about legalizing weed? And, back when it was different, seen differently. And I think one point that he actually brought up that was actually kind of interesting was, and during the time, and I don't know what we have now, but I feel like it's easier to, or it would be easier to legalize weed if it was more well known of how to I guess take a sobriety test, for example. So for example, in the United States, there's a certain amount that you can't be too drunk to drive. Maybe also for alcohol consumption, you can't show up to work.
Yeah,
at all. But but there's a scale.
This level,
the whole blood level scale. But I don't know if there's anything like that for weed.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And I wonder if there was one, it would be easier to regulate it.
Very interesting because. Yeah, I feel like it's because weed usually how it works is this compound, for example, this active ingredient, you smoke it and then it is not in your blood. It's usually it's a fat soluble.
Okay.
So for example, usually these are soluble in your maybe fat tissue, neuron, and these things. Usually they doesn't stay in the blood that far, and then it goes mostly in the brain region. So I'm not sure. Probably in the blood test you might find, some traces of the compounds that you can find the level, but I think that's not a very appropriate. Like a probably technology to implement in the mass. But otherwise, because for example, alcohol, the main part is ethanol, which is easily evaporated, so you can find it in your mouth.
Yeah.
But if you, for example, think about, you have to go for a blood test, if to test if you're drunk or not. Most of the people will freak out because the pain associated with it. I'm like, no, I'm done. Just take me to the jail, man. Already.
You got me. Just you got me.
All right. So I guess.
Can you find in your urine? Because they do urine tests.
Could be, yeah, that's true. Because at the end, it comes through the urine. So,
but is that just binary or a spectrum?
So I think over time it probably it goes to a peak and then slowly but also it depends how much you took it and probably your body also. But I think there can be a possibility that you take the urine test. But again, you have to wait. If you think about realistically, man, police come to you and they're like, okay, stop the car. And
we go again.
Now we're gonna take a urine test, man. I'm not feeling it, man. Wait for 5 hours. When you feel it, you go.
I'll be here for a bit. So I think that would be an interesting product.
Yeah, definitely.
If somebody invented that, and I feel like then it'll be easier for countries to say, okay, we can now regulate it easily, and maybe that might start opening it up to doors like Japan, where they can say you can't be this high.
Yeah. You never know.
I don't see Japan.
There's definitely a logical point that it could be possible in this way. We can, but also I feel like a lot of people, this related to these questions, you might be high with a very small dose.
But alcohol too, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. People are true. That's
right.
Yeah, probably that's true.
Some people drink a beer.
But true. But I think this is for example, in Japan it's a zero policy, but probably in the US they have certain limits to it.
Yeah, there's there's a number.
Okay to go, but probably there are few people would be in that range. They're still probably highly drunk because they're very sensitive to alcohol. There's always a chance. But I think you can always probably find a peak or average where you can say, okay, maybe this percentage is allowed and this is not allowed percentage.
Right. Because, I guess the point that my dad was making was like, okay, if you legalize weed, of course you could say, don't come to work high. You could say that.
No, you cannot come.
Right, of course.
Like, at least in the experimental, you don't come as a high.
Right. But, like, I guess then, how can you prove they're high?
True. I think we have to be very realistic. Like,
I mean, I can just assume. I can smell it.
The honesty, man.
Okay, I'm honesty.
I'm high.
But like if somebody let's say for example, I have a very chill personality, and there's been a lot of times where people are like, Steve, are you high?
Yeah, people usually say it to me as
right.
well. Like, I'm like, I don't have one.
I'm good.
I don't do that thing.
That's not my thing.
Yeah.
But we could have been lying.
Right.
But I mean, we weren't. Because we're saints. Yeah. no, for real.
Yeah, in Japan you don't do this thing. It's illegal here.
Yeah. 100%. Yes. But I have asthma. But yeah. But for real, that's a case. I'm curious how do they make that where if they didn't smell it on them, how can you prove that they are high unless you have a urine test?
Right. Yeah, true. It's very difficult to say. But also, the urine, maybe there will be some technology which can directly detect, the sample from the urine, if it's that possible. But for example, this urine test in current system, it works like, it's difficult to characterize this element. This needs like a really big instrument or something. Yeah, it's not because it has to be like a portable system that everybody can have it. And it's like,
just pull out your phone. Talk, get a piece of hair.
Yeah, a piece of hair. Yeah. So we need something like very easy to use.
That's an invention.
Yeah, that's definitely. And after that, I think it's $1 billion market for sure. Like there are a lot of people who really want to try it. Probably government also wants benefits as well. But it just because there are a lot of complications, not of technology, it's not available right now. So it's like we're missing out. I think we can think about kind of innovating in these kind of areas.
If I was a professional in that field of the biological sciences and chemistry.
Yeah. I think I should be in a medical related field very soon, probably 10 years later.
Hey man, if you're looking for a startup, I think that's a field that has promise if you actually succeed.
Right.
And then if you have a monopoly on that patent, I mean, the United States would buy that.
Yeah.
That's that's the Santanu meter. I don't know.
The Santa meters. You never go 2.0, like that.
I like that. Never go 2.0. They're just like, no, you are too high.
Yeah, too high. Too high to drive, too high. But difficult to find. But I think there's a possibility.
Interesting,
for sure. Yeah, interesting.
Awesome. All right, so now let's finish up. And I finish up things by asking the same question to everybody on my podcast. And that question that I'm asking you, Santanu, is, and maybe we kind of answered this talking earlier about age and everything, but as you age and as humans are advancing in our technology, what is one thing that you are looking forward to the most or hoping for humankind?
Technology-wise? Like
anything.
Anything.
What are you hoping for or looking forward to?
Well, I'm just gonna say probably factual-wise, I would really like to see this immortality concept that human will never die.
Immortality.
Yeah, it's like, like people are working on this concept, like, to stop the cell death or to regenerate it, because at some point of our age, it kind of, of course we always, in every day, there are a lot of cell dies and also regenerate, but over time we lost that potential.
Right.
But they're definitely, research in the positive directions where we can go towards immortality or maybe, this changing the body parts will be very accessible.
That would be a good use.
Yeah, like for example, okay, because still a lot of difficulty associated with it. If you want to probably change your head. It's difficult, but maybe a finger would be easier now. But so maybe 50 years later, maybe these things will be much more easier to do.
Interesting.
Because this artificial intelligence, robotics, probably I think our medical system will be much more precise at some point. And then the technology, the medicines, and everything is kind of helping each other. And at some point, I think, well, this is like a really bigger concept. Like, if you like argue against me, like immortality, can it possible at some point? If everything has a start, it has to end at some point. But maybe we can stretch it out. But also, we have to think about whether the quality of life is going to be the same.
Like what do you want to?
Yeah, because also I was really intrigued from the fact, in the US, probably there are a lot of like this famous people body is in the blue, like in nitrogen.
Oh, like frozen?
Yeah, the frozen in the chiller somewhere. Because they're hoping maybe 100 years later there will be technology who can, revive them back to the earth. Which is, right now, it's maybe, things impossible. But maybe, like 100 years later, it could be a possibility. But
it's possible.
But yeah, I'm really interested for, like, this related and how the medical science and technology kind of joins together.
I see.
But another thing also probably would be, if it's outside of this topic, would be like space explorations. I can see that being like a thing. I think this, like in the movies. This probably going to different planets and going with the space. I think it will be accessible at some point, maybe very soon. And that could be an interesting also, we ran out of oxygen and good air here, but we can go to a different planet.
Take me out.
You're talking, maybe you are in a different planet, maybe somewhere, planet 2.0, and then we are talking probably 50 years later together.
I'll be curious. Like, I can see the regenerative medicine being very beneficial, but I am thinking, like, I wonder if immortality is going to do us more harm than good.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see a lot of drawbacks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can figure out some of them just like easily. That.
Like resources, too much people,
right.
Population.
Yeah, but also another thing is, although our population's level increasing, but we are kind of reaching in the peak probably right now or probably in a few years. And after that, it's slowly going to go down. Because, we don't really need probably a lot of people. Because if, the AI will be really advanced, so a lot of the jobs from the bottom line will going to just, evaporate just like that.
But, like, is the population on decline because people are...
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Because, we need...
it's going to be dying? From competition?
Probably not going to die, but probably obviously because of this global warming and this thing. At some point, maybe there will be another pandemic and 100 million people just wiped out. That could be a thing.
Yeah,
but also, I feel like people who are more educated at the current time, they are not making that many kids. Probably most of the people probably nowadays, at least fractions of people would like to stay single and not having kids because of these populations. And this is not because of the mentality, but also because we don't need many people.
I get you.
Yeah.
It's not like back in the day when you had a farm and you gotta have like six kids.
Six kids, or not, not like a World War II. Like, we really need more men to go to the war.
Yeah.
So I feel like,
come on, boomers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So also a lot of things was like 50 years before it was manual, but now slowly these things are going to be automated, and so we don't really need that many employees or workers at the same point. But slowly, we not gonna procreate more, and slowly probably.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I saw that's actually an issue going on in China right now.
Yeah.
Because they had that one-child policy, and then a lot of people were trying to get men, and then now I heard their population is like overwhelmingly men.
Yeah.
And then that's an issue because now you can't have children.
True. Yeah, and I think they introduce now 2-child policy or as many child as possible.
Something like that. Yeah.
But I don't think this will going to help that much. Unless you're giving $1 million to everybody.
Yeah, to help.
It will help. It's fine. It's very interesting news in the South Korea. Because that's another thing. People became so distant that this mentality change, if it's happened, no means of money usually do the good thing.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
It's like, I'm good with 1 kid. Why I need 5?
It's like I'm good. Yeah. Like, I mean, unless that's just your calling. Like, right. I want to have like a litter.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, all right, I got my hair kid. I got, I got my newborn.
Right.
And we're comfortable. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, because back in the days, I used to see, like people having like 10 kids. 6 kids is like,
I got 8 brothers,
Right? It's a very average. But me, like the next generations, like me, I'll be like probably 1 kid is more than enough if I could even afford to, raise a kid maybe 10 years later. Exactly. So I don't blame people who are like, oh, I prefer a dog than a baby. Like this is total sense.
I get that.
It just. Yeah, I think we mentally also we changed so much.
It's kind of like a change mentality.
Yeah, but I guess it's also kind of we are also part of evolution, so we also want to bring a new someone in the earth. So it's interesting, but I think the population is going to go down. Technology will be even more advanced, but I don't think how much it will be sustainable at the end because. Now there is a the balance between the technology and whether we can sustain it because we need the energy to sustain it. But also I can see this recently there's a breakthrough in fusion reactions. So for example, nuclear power is one of the cleanest energy in the world, right? But also because it takes a lot of infrastructure to build and also a lot of many explosions happened, for example, in Fukushima power plant. So there's another alternative to it is fusion. So whether you don't break an element but you make an element, and by that you release a lot of energy.
Okay.
Like for example, the sun makes the energy like this way. So a lot of hydrogen it goes to helium, and this energy spontaneous and comes to it. Comes out. So similarly, but it just to combine 2 molecules, it just takes a massive energy. Like I don't know how much, but it's a massive energy. So
but you input the energy, but then the output is higher.
Higher.
Got it.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. So recently there's a breakthrough, I think in the US, of course. And then
America.
the great America, and then they finally found a system which works kind of really good. So maybe in 10 years later it will even advance. So if we can do that, so we literally solve the problem of energy crisis. So I can see the technology being even more advanced because you don't need to worry about where will be the energy source, these fossil fuels. There will be no questions anymore if this happens. But it's of course it's a prototype, like a very smaller scale. To make it a bigger scale, it would take time.
Yeah, but when we get there, that'll be good.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm hoping for the best, maybe 50 years later.
Yeah. The next generation is going to have it pretty easy.
Yeah, so I think there are definitely like these good steps towards it, but we have to make probably things even faster. Like, like maybe we don't have 50 years. Who knows? Like another pandemic because of maybe the temperature rise and maybe the bad mutations. Bad mutations in somewhere in some virus, and then it just killed probably 1 billion people. I'm like,
wild.
Wow,
Okay.
it's wild.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that was interesting. That was immortality.
Yeah.
So let's see where that goes, and if it's within our lifetime, we're still relatively.
I'm really hoping. I mean, yeah, of course.
You want to partake in immortality?
It's difficult, but it's also there's temptations, like to see.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious, definitely. Yeah,
I am curious.
But Yeah, I think this will also be like not a go-to thing for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, whether you can afford the thing, like, oh,
Just
it
the
comes,
average Joe.
yeah.
Getting
But who
some.
knows? Yeah. That point probably I'll be a billionaire or someone. Yeah, like
Let's hope so.
making manufacturing companies and this thing, hoping so maybe I could afford.
Yeah,
you know,
making the Santanu meter. Yeah, just doing your thing.
right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe you could also like the Estelle Ingenuity would be a bigger corporations that
That's
time.
the plan.
Yeah.
We'll collaborate.
Maybe we can do like like the in the forefront of all the scientific experiment and being a part of it. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Promising future then. Dude, I appreciate everything, dude. I think this is a good podcast, and appreciate all the insight that you gave. I thought that was actually good.
Yeah, this is my first podcast in real life. I took one podcast. It was like in YouTube, like Skype. It's online, so I didn't really experience
It's not
like a
the same.
real. Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the
You
same.
don't have that human element.
Yeah,
to it.
definitely. But next time I'll be even better.
Next time.
There's always the next time. But thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed. Yeah.
Awesome. Then with that, we're gonna end it here. And again, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good talk. That was the end of an episode of the Estelle Ingenuity podcast. Hope you learned something new and innovative and were left inspired to go create and invent new ideas for the betterment of society. Make sure to follow and subscribe to the Estelle Ingenuity podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube for more stories and experiences from people in the field and to hear about new up-and-coming technology. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next podcast episode.